They went by a few names. Legion of Doom was one, but for the die-hard fans and those who followed them since the beginning of their career, they were known as the Road Warriors. Animal and Hawk, who maybe surprised the most, they weren't always a tag team. They were singles wrestlers, especially Animal, who was actually known as the Road Warrior. And then when they realized that they had not one, but two guys that were similar build, had a look of a intimidating physical specimen of a wrestler, they decided to put them together. And along with Paul Ellering, they became a force to be reckoned with in the professional wrestling world. They would wrestle all over the country, various promotions from AWA to WCW, in Puerto Rico, in Japan, and then they found their way to the WWE, WWF at the time. And they were a force to be reckoned with in that they won tag team gold wherever they went. They even went to a promotion and they told them, "Hey, here's your belts. Where did we, win them at?" And then they said, "Oh, just say you won them at a tag team tournament and I forgot what they said. They said in Chicago or something." And it seemingly was, a team that came together. They were natural. They gelled with each other, and they even became like brothers, as close as brothers, loved each other as such. But even the fame and all the gold and the being known all over the world wasn't enough to keep them together, and it wasn't enough to keep Road Warrior Hawk on a good path. He fell into drugs, alcohol, a lot of demons that he was fighting. And in this episode of Dark Side of the Ring, it was season 2 and episode 9, and it's called The Last Ride of the Road Warriors. Animal even got to a point. I mean, he was always covering for Hawk. He was always, wanting to just. Sometimes he would just, go with it, and he would try his best to help his partner, his brother, if you will. And it just seemed like Hawk was just destined to go down a path of self-destruction, pretty much. I remember when I first saw, the Road Warriors, and I only knew them as the Legion of Doom because I started seeing them in WWF, and I thought this team is badass. They're like, forced to be reckoned with. They, had some incredible matches with Demolition, what many people say was the WWF's version, their version of the Road Warriors. Even when they got there, they said, "We got too many warriors. We got, the Ultimate Warrior. We got, Kerry Von Erich, who was known as the Texas Tornado, and even he had that moniker of the Warrior." So they said, "Let's do something. Let's do something different." And they decided to go with Legion of Doom, and it actually fit. They would shorten it to LOD, and they actually showed them in their various incarnations as the Road Warriors, and they showed them pretty rocky. I mean, I didn't realize it was that bad. Their whole entire run in WWF was really quite a rocky one, and it was really not ideal for the team. They even had a moment when they decided to bring them back, and they wanted to focus more on Hawk's, substance abuse and his issues with alcohol. They even brought in Darren Drozdov, who was known as Droz, made him the younger version of a Road Warrior, and then him and Animal turned on Hawk and beat him up and all. That's because he was not pretty much he was as what that's it, you can hear him say he was a disgrace, he was this and that storyline, of course, but they didn't like it, and neither did the fans. And this episode really does open up a lot. I mean, I know about Michael Hedstrom, who is the name of Hawk, real life name of Hawk. You see his brothers talking and being quite choked up. You can see that their brother's death is still with them, and they still haven't gotten over it. And why would they? You know, from what people said about Hawk is that he was such a good dude, and very very caring and loving to people, and he would always have your back. A wrestler known as Scott Norton, who I knew him from WCW, and he was a power lifter and a really big strong dude, and relied on his power moves and all that stuff. And even he got choked up talking about the passing of his one of his good friends. And we also see in this episode is how the Road Warriors broke up. You know, there was a period of time where they weren't together, and Hawk even said, he called and said, WWE said I quit. He goes to Japan and he gets this guy, one of the top Japanese wrestlers there, to be the new other half of the Road Warriors, and called him Power Warrior, right? I believe this, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't look right. Even Animal was saying, yo, dude, like, you're doing this stuff, and then I'm not looking for someone else. I'm going solo. And that's what led to when they came back to WWE, that they did that whole, Hawk trying to deal with his demons, his alcoholism, and all that stuff. And, these episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, they don't sugarcoat nothing. People have been complaining and criticizing that they don't show everything. But to me, I go by what they show. And it really is a tragic story about Hawk, in that he passed away only at the age of 46. He just got turned his life around. He was, he accepted God in his life. He got engaged. You see him in an interview where he's talking about everything is good, and he was clean, And even though he would dabble a little bit more into it and stuff like that, but relatively before, when he passed away, he didn't pass away of a drug overdose or anything. It was because of heart attack. He told his fiance, I'm going to go upstairs and to my room and take a nap, and then he never woke up. And I think I likened that to maybe he had a swollen heart or something like that, because I likened it to what Eddie Guerrero, when Eddie Guerrero passed. Same thing. He quit drugs. He wasn't on drugs anymore for like 4.5 or some odd years. I don't know how long Hawk was off drugs. But you abuse your body, especially the way that Hawk did, with alcohol and drugs and pills and all that stuff, your body's going to give up. All the damage you've done, it's not going to, help you to quit. Because if you quit, it doesn't matter because the damage is already done. But I thought in my head, after I watched the episode, I said at least he was clean somewhat, that he had kind of turned his life around, accepted God in his life and all that stuff. But he really, really did. I mean, he was like a guy who really, really just lived life on the edge, like Animal pretty much was clean. I mean, he dabbled here and there. He never really got into that, if he did. But maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't want to be the one that says to assume that that's what he did, but not hitting it as hard as his partner did. Even Paul Ellering, a longtime manager and a guy who's not only managed them but managed, Authors of Pain, I think was a really great fit in WWE. But then they placed him with Drake Maverick. But the guy really was phenomenal presence when it came to him being a manager. They saddled him with a ventriloquist puppet at one time named Rocco. A lot of people are going, what the hell is that? I mean, even they were kind of like, what the, but they had to go with it. And they didn't even show in this episode that they came back as LOD 2000, and Sunny was their manager. So I don't know if they just didn't want that shown because it was embarrassing to them. I don't know. And there was one glimpse of the Rocco puppet, the Ventriloquist puppet. It was when they were in WrestleMania and they were riding their motorcycles. And you see Paul Ellering on the motorcycle, you see Rocco on the motorcycle. Yeah. And yeah, this episode really was quite a tragic one. I mean, not that none of the other ones were, but you see what happened with Hawk, and the guy could just never, get a break. He could never get back on the right track, even though he did do that whole thing of turning his life around, but it was too late. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his demons, his years of abuse. But in the end, you find out that this was a guy that was well loved by his friends, his colleagues, his family, and truly is tragic when you have all these wrestlers, especially from this era, who are now dying at the very young ages, like 50 and below. Maybe a few of them sneak past 50, but a lot of them die young. And that is something that I don't think has ever been seriously addressed. I mean, they try with their drug, policies and their suspensions if you are caught, if you test positive for any kind of enhancement drugs or whatever. And it's so stringent that even some stuff that's not even illegal, but if it has an ingredient that they recognize as something that's on their list, they'll still suspend you. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of people that get suspended and they think that they're on steroids or they're on illegal. No, it's because of an ingredient that was in something they took, and they see that on some part of their list. They go, oh, okay, well, we got a strike against you, like that. But it's not a surprising story, but still, it's sad when you hear about guys like Hawk, people like Eddie Guerrero and Test, and so many that this happened to. Even smaller or lesser known people like Herb Abrams. Well, the last video that I did, these guys live that rock and roll lifestyle, and sometimes there are some that could come out of it, and some that are so caught into it and so deep into it that they can't get out. And I really enjoyed the episode. Like I always said, Dark Side of the Ring is a really great series, and now I'm down to the last one. Next week I'll be doing the final days of Owen Hart, and that's the one I've been looking forward to. And just seeing what they're going to present in that episode. I've already heard some things, but it's still not going to, it's not going to spoil anything for me, because these guys are so good at what they do, doing this documentary series, that I'll still be surprised at some of the things that they'll present or bring up. But yeah, that's my video for the last ride of the World Warriors, episode 9 of season 2 for the Dark Side or Dark Side of the Ring. So for those of you who stopped by and checked out this video, I appreciate it. And in closing, as always, take care. Please remember to subscribe, click like, and click the bell icon for all notifications on this channel.